Yo, 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 what is up, Bullish Nation? Man, I'm energetic today. I'm feeling good, but the Bulls were not feeling good in that first half because, they took a nap on us. Woke up for the second half. It was kind of entertaining, actually, for a while. I mean, if you guys caught our halftime show on Periscope, we were not too thrilled because the Bulls decided not to play in the first half. But you know who I got with me, Stevie and Josh, as always. Stevie, how's it going, man?
Good, good. There was a bit of fight at the end of the game there with some nice runs, but again, it's the massive patches of not being able to score or letting teams go on runs that mean they're so far out of touch, so it takes an epic comeback to win games. But the Celtics are a pretty good team. The frustrating thing is they showed patches where they could play really well, the Bulls, but just not can't string enough runs together to beat good teams.
The thing is, like, it's hard to make a full run comeback, and when you put yourself in such a big hole to begin with, it's gonna be hard. But they did. They went on an 11-0 run. They brought it down to I know four. I don't know if they brought it down to more less than four, but it was interesting. Josh, what do you think?
That first quarter was really what lost it for them. I'm pretty sure the Bulls actually won the yeah they won the second half. That first quarter was terrible. Lost by 14. Only scored 14 points. Yeah, they just came out really flat. I like the energy in the second half by the team. Zach LaVine was playing super well, as we've come to expect from him, and just that bench depth's been pretty bad aside from Thad Young tonight.
Thad Young, what do you think about his game? 17 points, 8 of 14 from the floor, 2 boards and assist. And he really, his post ups, he hit 1 3, but it was just like his post ups keeping us in the game basically the entire game. If there's any reason why it was even close at all at any point, it was because Thaddeus Young was for some reason going off. He was like 8 of 7 or something from one point. Like, and I know you're the biggest Thaddeus Young fan, Josh. So, like, what do you make of his probably best game of the season so far?
Yeah, it's interesting because the Bulls actually seem to be using him how he should be being used. Post ups, he was abusing whoever was on him. What was he? He was 8 for 10 on twos, 1 for 4 on threes. So pretty effective down low. It's just interesting to me. Like it baffles me that the Bulls have just worked out that this is how Thad Young plays, not having him stick out on the perimeter and shoot threes and expect him to make plays. Like I don't get how the Bulls have. How many games are we in now? Nearly 40 games, and it's taken that long for Boylan and the coaching staff to realize like that's where Thad Young's most effective. And I know that CB or one of you guys talked about in the halftime show, but it was so different to see Thad being used to actually play to his strengths.
Yeah, I agree. So when you look at the lineup that the Celtics have when they effectively play three guys that are small forwards, if you look at Brown, Tatum, and Hayward, none of those guys are really traditional power forwards. So it's not that they're bad defenders or anything, but you have someone like Thad who has that strong post-up game. He can really succeed against these type of lineups where teams are a little bit smaller. And going to him on the post, like he's been a great post-up player. There have been opportunities in previous games where they could have used him like that. And he's not a bad passer. He can find cutters and that sort of stuff. So I'm surprised they haven't gone to that before because clearly he still has that nice left-hand hook up and under. He's got some good solid post moves that would have hoped that they would have used a bit more in the past.
Oh man, I mean this game. I don't know how much you guys want to talk about this game in particular. There was a lot of stuff going on today with Casey Johnson tweeting out Jim Boylan's discussion. Like, Josh, before we fully move on for this game, is there anything that you want to talk about specifically? Because we go through these gamers, and this one was just like a dud to start out with. Anyway, nothing really happened until the end there. I mean, the third quarter there was some fun stuff, but Levine had his 30, and nothing else really happened.
Yeah, well, Levine was great again. We come to expect that from him, just putting forward these all-star performances. I think Larry Markin was a big part of that third quarter little run at the start. He was terrible in the first half, and then he was benched for I think like maybe like 10 plus minutes straight, more than that, maybe 15, and then only closed the game log similar minutes to Luke Cornett. So just the rotation thing has just been so bad. The Bulls need to find a better way to manage that. But yeah, just Zach LaVine had another great game. Really pleased what I'm seeing from him. Yeah, I think I want to say he's a lock, but the team's record just kind of like pushes
Nowhere
that
near,
away a little bit.
nowhere near a lock to me.
What do you think he needs to do better at individually? Because obviously the team like sucks.
Well, he needs
But
to have done better in the first part of the season. Like it's I don't. I think he's right on the edge. So I'm not saying that he has no chance. I just don't. I just definitely don't think it's a lock because people are gonna wanna talk like Trey Young is one of those spots that he's going against, and I mean yeah, the Hawks are worse than the Bulls, but they're both pretty bad. And Trey Young has been just a lot better if you're talking individually and statistically than Zach LaVine. And then like Middleton, I don't know if you want to give Middleton any credit,
yeah, he's
because
he's a wing though. He's a forward.
that's true. If Zach LaVine's in the guard category, then um, do they even do that for the bench? I thought it was just any seven for the bench players.
So it's two guards, bench. It's four guards and three forwards. I'm pretty sure.
Anyway, I
Or
thought
three
they
guards
changed
and four
that.
forwards.
I
Yeah.
thought they changed that. But Stevie, do you have anything to say about this game?
Yeah, I mean, they actually finished quite well at the paint, so 55% inside the 3-point line. And so, for example, Markkanen was 4 of 6 inside. So they were actually doing quite well, getting to the line and being physical and finishing well around the rim. The 3-point shooting was abysmal, 6 of 25. But again, Markkanen only 9 shots. Yeah, the offense is just struggling in patches so often. I know we've talked about it a lot, so we're not going to go on and on about it. But as you said, the offense struggling to score for long periods of time is the main reason that they rank so poorly in offensive efficiency.
Chris Dunn had a solid second half, really going after the ball, got some tough finishes to go into. Lowry, this might have been his most invisible game. I don't know if that makes sense to you. He was just, I don't even recall a single Lowry play, to be honest. He had 9 points, he had 6 boards, but it seemed like he didn't do anything really. Gafford, 10 points, 4 or 5. He was energetic. He was kind of the Celtics announcers kind of liked him, which League Pass locks me out because I'm in Boston, which the lockout stuff is just trash to me. But I guess it makes sense. So I had to watch the Boston feed because I was watching it on streams. Don't tell the government. But so the Boston stream was just Scalabrini was on first of all, which is always fun.
It was great.
And they liked Gafford. They also were talking every other play about how Thaddeus Young was trying really hard to get traded from the Bulls. I don't think they're aware that Thaddeus Young has just been really bad all season. But yeah, it was just interesting to see a very biased Celtics announcers talk about some of the Bulls players. Not a lot to go off of. Cornette didn't play. We saw Felicio play, which was fun. That's always fun. But let's get to the Casey Johnson tweets and Boylan's comments because I think we can talk about a lot. We'll go into Denzel and all his comments as well. But there's a lot of talk going around the Bulls organization right now and Twitter and all that. So let me just read this tweet, which is basically an email or notes section from Casey Johnson. All right, here we go. I'm encouraged by the growth of our team. I like the fact that we've established a style of play at both ends. Let me stop there. I'm going to pick this apart by sentence with you guys.
Yes.
I like the fact we've established a style of play at both ends. So, Josh, I would like to ask you what the style of play on or on offense has been.
You tell me, man. What sort of style of play the Bulls running? I would not have an answer for that. I don't know what Boylan is watching or is coaching, but there is no offense. And how can you have a style of offense when you rank 0.5 points below the Knicks last time I checked? So
I'm sorry. I jumped
terrible.
the gun. I jumped the gun by asking you about the second sentence. Stevie, let me go to you with the first sentence. I'm encouraged by the growth of our team. Let me let me start with that first sentence back.
Yeah.
Are you encouraged by the growth of our team?
No, and the main, regardless of how bad the team is, the main reason I get annoyed at Boylan is he uses catchphrases like throwaway lines that don't actually apply to the way that the team has gone. And to me, that's bullshit, and that's just smoothing over what has been an absolutely terrible season. Like, he needs to just be real with people, and writing that and saying that sort of stuff isn't being real.
Okay. I would like us to be more consistent. The first sentence that I agree with so far, I would like us to be more consistent as well. Moving on, I'm disappointed in one part of our defense. I think we foul too much. Now, when your defensive scheme is clearly the most aggressive scheme in the league right now, pointed to, like, you can see it in the numbers. The Bulls lead the league in steals at 10 steals a game before this game. They lead the league in scoring off of turnovers. They are, despite being a bad team, have the 11th or 10th best, a top 10 defense in the league. So it's interesting to me that a team that seemingly is, preferring fouls and aggressiveness over the alternative, that he's disappointed that they're fouling too much. Like, yeah, I do agree that they're fouling too much. I don't disagree with that statement. But isn't it a byproduct of the scheme of defense that you're trying to run? Josh, like, am I crazy here?
Bulls foul a lot, and I think that's because you're right. The style of defense they play has the bigs out of position a lot of the time. Guards have to be switched on to big men, and it's often a disaster when it doesn't go right. Especially at the start of the season when they're getting used to it against when they're losing games like the Knicks and the Cavaliers and all that. That's when it was at its peak of being terrible. It's starting to get that way with Wendell out too. So that is right. It is part of the system they play, and I don't know why you're trying to run this defensive system when you don't really have too many great defenders on your team. I mean, Dunn's pretty good, Carter's pretty good, but now he's out. Like, Thaddeus Young's a good defender. What other really good defenders are on this team to be running the system? I just haven't been able to understand that all season.
Yeah, and they also have lack of size on, and this isn't making excuses, but lack of size on the wing for defending the biggest and fastest wing threats in the league. That probably hasn't helped with the fouls, but that would be the one excuse that I would give. But the defensive scheme means that, yeah, the bigs will always be out of position, and then you have guys like Dunn, like, they're trying really hard to create turnovers and make plays, but there are only a couple of defensive playmakers on the team. I would say that Wendell would be one and Chris Dunn would be the other. There are no other defensive playmakers on the team, so other guys are trying to buy into that, and they're just fouling far too often.
I'm right now pulling up the foul stats, like the advanced foul stats on cleaning the glass.
I know that they were last time that I checked.
Last as in fouled the most?
In the league, yeah, and for free throw rate as far as opposition teams go.
For sure. Yeah, they are last. You are correct. Anyway, let's get back to this.
Just gets better.
Let's get back to this. I think we foul too much. Yeah, I'd like us to improve at defending without fouling. Okay, that's the same thing. I'd also like us to improve our defensive rebounding. So, back to the drawing board with our stats. Offensive rebound percentage for the defense, we are 15th, so that would mean that we're kind of just average at allowing offensive boards to the other team, which in turn inversely means that we're average as a defensive rebounding team. So I kind of agree with that part a little bit. I don't think it's like the biggest problem. I feel like in the beginning of the season it was more of a problem. We were allowing more offensive boards than we are now, so they've kind of cleaned that up a bit. So okay, I think we're it's tame. These sentences 3 through whatever 6 or 7 has been pretty tame. Those are two huge pillars that would take our defense to the next level. I just don't understand why the defense is what he's focusing on when the defense has been the one thing that's kind of kept us in games all season. So that's just another point. We've missed Wendell in our defense. Yes, he is a huge piece. I agree. But we got to move forward on that. Those two guys backing him up have to continue to grow at the defensive end and help us. Okay, this is where the defensive thing ends. Is there anything on the defense, like besides the scheme, which we've kind of talked beat we're beating a dead horse with the defensive aggressive scheme. It hasn't been as annoying as it was in the beginning of the season, but I've been like fine with the defense.
Yeah, the defense has been a massive improvement from the last couple of seasons, and if the offense had even been half decent, then you would find this team would be quite a lot closer to 500 because the defense has been roundabout league average or a little bit better.
100%. All right, moving to his offensive comments. Offensively, there has been times where I like the way we have made basketball plays. See, oh man, okay, let's just stop
Made
at
basketball
that.
plays.
Offensively, there have been
That's what you're meant
times.
to do, Jim.
Wait, listen to the sentence, Josh. I'm gonna go right to you. Offensively, there has been times where I like the way we have made basketball plays. We get backdoors, we're reading and reacting. That's what we're trying to teach and coach here. We do have some inconsistent moments where we're stagnant or we're not organized or our communication is poor. If you have two or three of those in a game, you can maybe win. If you have 5 or 6 of them, it's going to be more difficult. I'm lost at this point. Josh, explain to me what our offense is doing and what you're seeing and why Boylan is having these comments about our offense.
Firstly, so the first part of that sentence did say that he was happy they were making basketball plays.
No, offensively, there has been times where he likes the way they have been making basketball plays.
So sometimes the Bulls are apparently creating good basketball plays.
Sometimes they're not even basketball plays. Sometimes
sometimes they may not be basketball plays and they might be better suited for not basketball. And that seems to be the case more often than not. It's bad, and the response was also bad, indicating that the offense is bad. We know what we see when we watch the Bulls. Like, the offense is not very good, and even Boylan can't even give an explanation for it, considering he's such a tough defensive-minded guy. And you'd like to see maybe Chris Fleming talk about this offense, because he was a dude they brought in to help fix this offense, which was league worst last season and has barely improved whatsoever. And I want to hear what Fleming has to say about this, because he is probably more responsible than Boylan is in terms of actually the system the Bulls are so-called running.
Yeah, the main issue for me, and I'm just bringing up the cleaning the glass stats now, is that they can't score in the half court. In the half court, they rank 29th, but this is the crazy part of it. They run half court offense on 3%. Well, 3% of their plays. I'm going over the top here. They're third in the league in terms of running half court plays. So how often they run, and they're 29th ranked. So the main issue is that in the half court they can't score.
It's been that way all season, literally since the first. It was like the first trend we noticed, if you recall. Like we should find that back. Like 5-6 games in, it was like, oh, they're playing great. In fact, I think Stevie, you were the first one to point it out to me. It's like they're great on transition, and then I looked in, and then I started noticing more, and then I was like, oh wait, but they're trash at half court. So it was like the first thing that we noticed, and it's kept up 40 games in. Moving on with some, it's kind of over, basically. He says, if you have 2 or 3 of those in a game, you can maybe win. I don't even know what he's talking about when he says 2 or 3 of those. Like, maybe it's the back doors, maybe it's the reading and reacting. I'm not sure, but he just talks about a random pronoun.
Who cuts on this team, though, Khan? Like, seriously. Like, the offenses stagnate so often. When he says, like, backdoor cuts, like, who? I mean, sometimes Zach instead overthrow, like, a nice bounce pass, but who? Lowry stands out there on the perimeter. Wendell's doing dual handoffs all game. Chris Dunn's standing in the corner. Zach Levine's holding the ball.
That's a great point. Honestly, like, now I'm thinking, I honestly don't know. I'm gonna count next game. I'm gonna count every single backdoor cut, and then like if we have 7 like we did against on Friday night, like we did against Detroit, then we can win a game. That's basically the next code. We had 7 of those in the game Friday night and 3 against Detroit. That shows where we need to grow. I love how hard we work. I like the fact that we are building a system and foundation on both ends. So, I do think that they have established a system and foundation on the defensive end. Whether or not it's positive or negative, that's for us to, talk about and vent about or be happy about. There is something there. There is a consistent clear message that's being given to the players that's either being executed or not executed, we can identify it. And I mean, I don't want to re-talk about the exact same thing we just did about like the offense. There is no foundation or system. We talk about how Zach LaVine is the only one that is doing anything in isolation plays. If he's making plays, then it's kind of fun, right? But nothing like the only foundation on the offensive end is the fact that the defense is so aggressive, so we lead it into transition. That is the foundation. So that's not an offensive foundation. That's a defensive foundation, because there is no offensive like. So I don't know. It's interesting to me how you can talk and not mean it. I feel like he's clearly saying things just because he needs to say things. I don't know. I hate talking like this too, about, you know, a front office, a head coach. Like these guys are smart guys. They're clearly in the position they're in for reasons. Like they've worked hard. They love basketball. They've grown up with basketball. So like it sucks because for me, I hate talking about guys like this in the league. Anyone really. I can question decisions and whatever, but it's not. I don't know. It's tough to see people in situations where they've outstayed their welcome, putting other people into situations where they outstay their welcome. And what I'm saying is Garpax has been there for 16, 17, 18 years now, whatever. And they have kept coaches or hired the wrong coaches or kept coaches for too long or trusted in not good coaches or didn't put their coaches in positions to succeed. And I'm going to stop talking and go to Steve because I'm just ranting again. A calmer rant today, though. Very calm.
That's yeah. I mean, the rant is deserved. So it seems also in the half court that guys are struggling to be assertive where maybe they'll have a mismatch, but they'll pass to someone who's sort of standing near half court to bail out. Like Archie Diakono will be playing off the ball, you know, waiting for a bailout pass if he's running the offense. And then a creator, be it sometimes Markkanen, sometimes Satoransky, will maybe have a mismatch, or even they'll just have a guy on them. And rather than try and drive to the rim, it seems like they just lack the assertiveness to actually make a play, to try and go past a guy, to, you know, drive past someone and then look to kick it back out, or whatever. Like, guys aren't actually making plays, but these are the people that actually have the skills to make plays. So why are they not looking to make simple basketball plays in the half court? It seems like they're just quickly looking to pass it up to someone else, and then you come down to Zach having to bail you out at the end of the shot clock, or poor old Thaddeus Young having to jack threes at the end of the clock, or, you know, guys having to 3 or 4 feet beyond the line having to make something happen because people aren't assertive enough to make the plays in the half court in the first place.
Josh, that gif you just tweeted is hilarious. The punching clock, Zach LaVine, Flintstones. Oh my god. I just feel bad, man. They're just Boylan's taking so much shit, like, and I mean, it's not that it's not deserved, but I don't know. Josh, go ahead, talk about things.
It's just been really hard to watch this season because you listen to our pods, like one of our first very pods, we were talking about, oh, we might even make the 6th seed. Like, we were so optimistic, but we tried not to be extremely, but we thought that this team was going to be playoff bound.
Every preseason podcast is an extremely cold take at this point.
Yes, and I don't even listen to that because we're saying, oh, why can, like, I remember me and Steve even talking about why LaVine, like, he could make an All-NBA team if he improves. Like, everything has gone wrong. Nothing is going to go right at this point. And what the real question is how do you want to play out this season? Like, do you still want to go for the 8th seed, or do you want that draft position? There's a lot of, because you're right at the halfway point. The Bulls play 41 games, and it's interesting to me how they're going to go about the remainder of this season. I know that they've still got a lot of tough games on their schedule. They're going to play their only national TV game against Philly in a few days, where let's hope they don't get exposed badly. But yeah, the rest of the season is probably the biggest question, especially these injuries too to Otto and Wendell. And who knows if Otto's even going to be back. Same as Wendell. He said he wants to be back for All-Star Weekend, but normally when Bulls seem to say that, they're out for another 6 months, or in Denzel Valentine's case, for next All-Star Weekend for next year. So Yeah, just how the season plays out. Is the question I'm asking to John Paxson and Jim Boylan.
It's hard to even
Yeah,
want. Sorry, Stevie, my bad. It's hard to
that's
even
right.
want
You go.
anything. It's hard to even want anything out of this season. Like, do you really want
Exactly.
an 8 seed? Do you want a pick? Because you're just like, okay, well, the pro, and that's why it's the process is so much more important. I'd rather them go 0-82 and try hard and like have good system than to just lose every single game. I'd be so much less upset. Like, it's it's just I don't Stevie, I cut you off, so I'm gonna go right to you. I just wanted to say that it's hard
That's
to
all
be
right.
excited for any sort of outcome with how it's going.
Yeah. So the issue is that previous years they've shut it down to go and try and get a draft pick, but the main thing is that you've got guys like Carter, like Markkanen, and Carter, who when Carter comes back, like these guys have got to get game reps in. Carter missed a lot of his rookie season. Hutch missed a lot. Markkanen hasn't played a full season. Like I don't, for the long term future of the team, regardless if they suck at the moment or however you view the team, they've still got to continue to play the core guys. These are the guys that they've got on the roster. Like you can't say we're just going to play the young guys and shut Markkanen down because Markkanen is one of the young guys. Like that, they're cutting off their nose to spite their face if they're going to do that. They need to give the guys that they've got a really great run and just play as hard as they can and just try and win some games, regardless of how you view it. I don't agree with if they're bad enough to be in the lottery with the way that they're playing now, then I just don't see the point of shutting it down anyway. Like if they finish with 33 wins and they're in the lottery, the new lottery odds are crazy and they could end up with the number one pick anyway. So I mean they just need to keep doing what they're doing and I don't see any point of tanking because at some
They're
point
gonna
they've got
lose
to
anyway.
try and yeah, they're losing games anyway. That's exactly right. They just need to play the dudes that they've got.
Yeah, and
Oh yeah,
yeah,
go ahead,
you're
Josh.
right. What I just don't like trying to get my head around is that why could they not do as last year in terms of this draft class is very point guard heavy, and even then, the Bulls are still searching for that like revolutionary franchise player, which teams like the Pelicans they have in Zion potentially, the Mavericks have that in Luka Doncic, the Hawks have that in Trey Young, the Bulls young players right they have right now. Let's be real, like none of these are going to change the franchise. And just looking at this draft class, sure some of these dudes have could have quite high ceilings, but I haven't looked into it too deeply. But if you get the 6 or 7 pick again, you're not going to get somebody that's going to change your franchise. I highly doubt that. So this draft class is almost like the Bulls have done this last year for chance of getting Ja Morant or Zion, and they have to do it this season when they were meant to be, making the playoffs. I just don't see what the benefits of tanking for a draft pick is when this draft class isn't necessarily the best they've had in recent years. That's how I view it, at least.
Yeah, no, I feel you. You know what the worst part is? Like, we tweet fun stuff. You guys, we try to find different content and whatever. And it's kind of like, how team accounts will tweet something like cool or creative or image, but they just lost like the last night or like lost like an hour
Nice.
ago, right? And it's just like, it ruins all the fun that we're trying to have. Um, which, I mean, that's a downer thing to say, obviously. But it just kind of, I was scrolling through our Twitter, and that's kind of what I thought about. It's like, oh, we have this tweet with Gafford or retweeting Gafford and his drumming thing, or like,
That was cool.
yeah, and then
From college.
like a Jimmy Butler three against the Celtics or whatever, and like we, it's just funny to me that we're in this situation. I'm curious, who's more mad? Because you're kind of within both fan bases, the Bulls or the Blazers right now, Stevie.
Um, the Blazers are mad that they're not making any moves to try and make the team better with the expiring salaries. The problem is though that the Blazers have been a playoff team for a while, and I feel like NBA fan bases, when you've been a playoff team for 7 years in a row or something like that, then they almost take that for granted. Whereas the Bulls, all of a sudden, if you made the playoffs, people would be pumped. But until you made the playoffs for 5 or 6 years, and they're like, "Oh man, can't we go to the finals?" And it's like, "Come on, have you been following the Timberwolves who didn't make the playoffs for 15 years?" Like it's pretty fickle running an NBA team because I feel like the fans, they have pretty short memories and they get upset pretty quickly.
100%. Well, I don't really have anything to add. We will do a trade episode
Can we talk
very
about
soon.
Denzel?
Please, please. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That I was supposed to talk
Yeah.
about that. Go ahead.
So I haven't looked too deeply into it. But basically, did you guys? I'm gonna pull it up right now.
I'm pulling it up right now too. The quotes, right?
Yeah. So he did one earlier in the week with the Sun Times, who basically said that the Bulls are going to show up Denzel and trade him whenever they can, and then Denzel's now taking shots at what seems to be maybe the coaching. Basically, he wants out, and
I got
look
the
at the
quote.
quotes, but
I
you
got
got
the
it?
quote. Yeah.
Sweet.
Everybody's got to say now, Valentine said. Everybody can pull out an analytic out of nowhere. I don't read too much into analytics. I think there's a few analytics that are important. But that string of sentences is hilarious. Anyway, but at the end of the day, did you win or not? That's the big thing. Everyone wants to know, wants to look at shots plus minus defensive percentages and all that stuff. It's really just about the losses. That's not really the exact quote I think you were looking for. But I mean, he kind of does have a point. Okay, here we are. I'm definitely not happy about it, Valentine said. I'm a competitor. I want to play. I want to be productive. I want to help my team win, but that's out of my control, so I'm not about to let it make me not happy every day. Continuing on, he kind of told me a couple games ago that I was out of the rotation. He didn't really say why. He's the coach and he feels like he wants to do that. Can we just, like, Fred Hoiberg had this too, where people asked about, like, oh, why were you benched, or oh, why aren't you playing, and they're just like, I don't know, it just kind of happened. And again, Boylan, same situation. What's up with the Bulls getting non-communicators as their coaches?
Yeah, leading on from that sort of behaviour has happened with other teams before and led to serious malcontent within the organisation. The exact same thing that Tom Thibodeau did with the Wolves, and guys just being benched, not having a reason for it. How can you go and work on your game if you don't know what you've done wrong to fall out of the rotation? So that's a really worrying trend. If that's actually what's happening, where someone's being benched and not being told why, and there's close relationships between players on teams, obviously, then what you're going to find is that there'll be a lack of respect for the coach and maybe the system that he wants to run, and you're going down a pretty bad path with a young team if that's how things are going on.
Yeah. Anyway, he says, if I get moved or if I stay here, I'm happy in the NBA, living my dream. That is the attitude to have, my friend. That's Joe Cowley of the Sun-Times. I'm reading those quotes from. So, yeah, I mean, Denzel's your boy, Josh. Anything to add there?
It just frustrated me to see that at halftime the Bulls were 1 for 13 on threes, and
2
they
for
were having
16 at one
like
point.
exactly, and they were having like 6 foot Ryan Archie-Diacono guarding like 6'7" Jaylen Brown, and it's just strange that Denzel isn't getting a bit of burnout there. Like, he isn't the greatest defender, but he can shoot and he can create plays, and he's not going to make your offense as bad as it already is. Like, what do you have to lose in playing him? Especially a game like this too, when the Bulls were actually down like 18 at halftime. What do you have to lose in not playing him? He's been good when he was given the minutes. The Bulls didn't even use him, which is why he got benched. Like, he had no use in the rotation. When you were out, me and Stevie talked about this a lot on the pods, that Denzel really has no use in the rotation because the Bulls never look for him. The only time he's shooting is either, like a bailout three-pointer from like nearly the logo of 2 seconds left when the ball just comes out to him. And he hasn't been used right all season, and I just don't get why the Bulls can't think, like, why is this guy not playing? Like, what do you have to lose not playing him? He can offer you something that Chandler Crutch, what do they call him? Chandler Crutch saw shin, or like these dudes.
I haven't seen that one.
Crutch saw shin, yeah, that's what they call him. And like, what's
who called? That's
like,
who calls?
That's Matt Beck and John and Dave, the outsiders.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I mean, Denzel needs a bit of burn, man, and he's probably not going to get it. I think the Bulls would be actively shopping him. Who knows what we can get for him at least.
Yeah, well, some random guy at October's own day. In today's edition of, quote, the Chicago Bulls are the dumbest franchise in American pro sports. Who the fuck is trading for Denzel Valentine, a man who can't even crack this bum-ass rotation we have? That just about sums up how the Bulls fans feel about everything right now. Anyway, thanks for listening to this wonderful episode of Bullish Hoops. We're gonna get a trade episode in. Let's do that this weekend, maybe, guys. And shake some things up. Although I don't know if it's the pieces of the puzzle or the table we're making the puzzle on. That's the problem. And I've never used that analogy before. I don't think it really works, but let's move to another table, guys. Anyway, thanks for hopping on. Hit us up at Bullish Hoops. And we're going to continue our halftime shows on Periscope and podcasts after the games, whether you like it or not. So peace out, guys.